What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Reptile Report. We wanted to make sure you had stuff to watch immediately right after we did the rebrand. So this video, we're going to be talking
about the Reptile Report.
Did I call it the Reptile Report? You know, the funny thing about that is that today, 8 years ago, Reptile Report shared one of my earliest pieces of content, and it was one of my first pieces of content that went viral because the Reptile Report shared it. Yeah, Redline Report. Well, it's part of the reason that was the idea for the channel name. I was like, oh, Reptile Report, something that you've run for a long time. And
I keep making the same mistake when I'm writing it down or typing it out.
That's why we got the neon sign, so you just
Yep.
Burn it into my retina. The main idea behind this video is to explain, even if you don't have a booth at Tinley and you want to vend Tinley, but you're not, why you should still come even if you don't have a booth. That just because you don't have a booth isn't a reason to be like, well, I didn't get a booth this time, so I'll just wait till I do to attend Tinley. So really want to drive home the reasons.
Value of networking, value of marketing, value of relationships.
Totally. One of the big reasons to attend is like to see, you know, what you're up against, right? Or what to expect when you go. You don't want to go in with a blind eye, right? Like just vend your first Tinley having never been there before. Seems like it wouldn't be as good as kind of knowing what it is you're getting yourself into by being there physically. So how can you plan ahead to put your best foot or face forward to do the show?
You know, I think when you're trying to do a big show like Tinley, one of the most important shows of the year, one of our big industry shows of the year, I think you want to try and plan ahead so that you can make the most of your weekend. You know, I've done the shows both ways where I've vended, but I've also just come and freestyled and hung out at the show. And frankly, freestyling and hanging out is the best way to do the show. It's the most enjoyable way. You're not stuck behind the booth. But for somebody that's looking to do the show as a vendor, I think coming to the show first and being in that atmosphere is super important. I think you need to come and meet your peers and your competitors and see what other people are doing. Because it's not a rinky-dink local show in a barn or at the Elks Lodge. I mean, this is a big show. It's an industry show. This is where all the bigger breeders are at, and they're all putting a ton of effort these days. There's not going to be a lot of breeders that are doing deli cups wrapped in rubber bands anymore like we did in the 90s. People are putting thousands of dollars into their displays, into their branding, into their signage. And so I think it's important, hey, if I'm going to come and do a big show like Tinley, who am I competing with? What are they doing? How are they executing? So how can I come and put my best face forward? Make sure that my signage is on point, make sure my branding's on point, so that when I make that first impression with my customers, I'm trying to win all these customers, that they look at me with some respect and admiration and be like, I want to buy some animals from this breeder here. So I think it's important that you understand how everybody else is executing, so that you can put a really good, solid face forward when you make your first debut at the show.
And the only way to really gather that information is to be there in person so you can look at all the details. You can watch videos online, sure, but to actually see and be able to walk around and look with your own eyes is way, way better than any video you could ever watch, I think.
Yeah, the videos and the pictures, I mean, you know, there's a lot of it available, but it doesn't, number one, you don't get the vibe that you do when you're at the show. You don't get the energy that you do when you're at the show. I've brought guests to the show, both in the industry and from without the industry. Like we bring FedEx staff to the show, and FedEx VPs, and they know we ship a lot of packages. Cool. We ship a lot of stuff. But when I bring them to the show and they can see exactly what our industry is, and they see how professional it is, and they see how well executed it is, and the scope of it, and the vibe of the whole show, and the mass of people that are here, it gives them an entirely new level of respect and appreciation for what we do. And so I think that's what you have to capture as a new vendor, so that you don't end up looking silly and rinky-dink. You want to look like a pro. If you're going to do the Tinley show, you should be a pro. You should execute at a professional level. And to do that, you have to best understand what that means and what that entails, and give yourself best chance of success, 100%.
What would you say is the number one reason to attend the show? Like if there was one reason that was more important than any other reason as somebody looking to vend to attend the show than any other reason, what is that reason?
Relationships and connections. All the way. There's so much value in making connections with your peers and people in your industry and developing those relationships. That is super key. I've been around a long time, over 30 years now. Back in the 90s, which is the previous century, we were very competitive with each other. Like it was really cutthroat. Today, it's a very different vibe. Between the different breeders that work with your species, there's a lot more cooperative relationship there. And the reality is there's enough business for everybody. If you execute what you're doing well, if you put good animals out, like good quality animals, and you present them well, you'll sell the animals. You'll do good business. And so there's enough good business for everybody. And so it doesn't have to be cutthroat. You don't have to stab each other in the back. There's a lot of value in creating relationships with the people that are working with the species you're working with. And there's a lot of value in saying, hey, this person's executing my species at the very top of the game. Maybe Canova or somebody is just, they're killing it. They set the bar for everybody else. And that gives you an aspirational goal to reach, to say, that's where I want to do. I want to execute like Justin's executing. And so I think that creating a relationship with Justin has a ton of value. Creating a relationship with the best crested gecko breeders in the country has a lot of value. Creating a relationship with the best invert and spider breeders in the country has a lot of value. And here at Tinley, of course, all the segments of the industry are represented. So whether you're doing merchandise or caging, supplies, you're doing lighting stuff, or you're doing particular animal species, there are people here that you need to meet, that you need to know, and you can have relationships with them, and it'll help make you better as it helps to make them better. The other valuable relationship to have is with Brian Potter and Bob Ashley, the promoters of the show. Whatever show you're doing, if you have a good relationship with the promoter of the show, that only gives you a competitive advantage. And you don't have to kiss their ass. You don't have to suck up to them. It's a genuine relationship. You have to show them the value that you're bringing to the show. A show like Tinley's been sold out. It's got a 5-year wait list. It's very difficult to jump in and get tables at the show. But if you can show the promoters that you're bringing value to the show, your execution, your branding, your presentation, your setup, your animals, very important. Your personality. If you come to a show and sit behind the table and look like a grumpy grumpins, and you're sitting in your chair the whole time, nobody's going to want to have you back. But if you give a great presentation, you're up and you're interacting with people, people are engaged with you at your table, the promoter's going to see that, and they're going to appreciate that, and they're going to want you to be there. There's value in having those relationships.
Absolutely. And that makes me think about what you were talking about a second ago with people who are the best in their fields and are looked at as kind of the top. As you were running through that list, I was thinking about who those people are and realizing that they're actually really cool people too. They're not just good at what they do, they're actually good to talk to, good to have relationships with, because they want to help people, and they have good hearts, to not put any that's the best way I can put it, is they're good people. And I think that that's not an accident that the people that are at the top of all their different specialized fields within the industry happen to be the people that you can count on to be helpful and courteous and
yeah, they didn't stumble into being the best.
Yeah.
They worked hard to be there, but all of those parts and pieces play a part of that and contribute to that. And what I find is a lot of those folks that are industry leaders are very, very generous with their time, with their information, what they share. For Josh's Frogs, Josh himself is really motivated to take the industry forward. He's not really obsessed with how many frogs he can sell. He would like to see everybody in the industry thrive. But he also executes at a very high level. And so he wants to see you execute at a very high level. And so, when you have a relationship with a guy like Josh, there's a lot to learn. He's a really smart guy. There's a lot you could talk about frogs, sure. But there's also a lot of great business conversations to have with guys like that, or guys like Justin or Bob's Balls. They're really tied into the market. Where the market's going, what are the trends, what's working, what's not working. There's just so much value to be had there. And so one of the things you also have to think about is, what do I bring to the table? What can I offer here? And sometimes it's just a good ear, and I'm listening and I'm appreciating what I'm getting. You don't necessarily have to contribute at the highest level and, have a super deep business conversation with Josh Frogs or Canova, but to be respectful and appreciative of what they're discussing. There's a lot to be gained and a lot to be learned from guys like that.
Absolutely, man. Well, I think that pretty much sums up the main reasons you should be attending Tinley if you're not already, because like you said, it is that show. It is that show. It is the reptile mecca for me personally, and I know for lots of other folks as well. That's kind of like the spot that people are congregating. It's where you're making the pilgrimage to come to Tinley one day. So if you're on the fence for some reason or waiting for your moment to come, the moment to come is March or October. Pick one and come.
Spring or fall. I've got a couple clients that are going to be here this weekend for their first time, and I cannot wait to hear their feedback because I know it's going to blow their mind. They have no idea what to expect. It's just going to overwhelm them with input and ideas and excitement and further just fuel this passion that they have to be in the industry. So I can't wait for them to experience Tinley for the first time. It's an awesome, awesome weekend, and it goes by incredibly, incredibly fast.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, and I've heard that time and time again. And again, for me personally, like the first time I went to Tinley, halfway through Saturday, my first time there, I said, I'm coming back every single year, and I'm in this for life. But that's what it does. So, yeah, man. Well, Robin, hey,
it's going to be a great weekend.
It's going to be a great weekend. Well, I appreciate your time on here and appreciate you contributing like you have already, and looking forward to what we're going to be doing with this channel, man, going forward.
Yeah, let's do some cool things, man.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the next video.